Well, welcome to my channel. I've done a lot of videos on this channel in the past, mainly gaming related, but recently I've been making a lot of content outside of this channel, doing other things, and I wanted to sort of get back to this and maybe push the channel in a direction that sort of suits what I'm doing at the moment. If you found this video, it's likely that you've been sort of searching around the internet for some solutions about switching from Windows to Linux, and maybe you found some distributions, maybe you found some videos that show you how to install Linux and you're still confused and unsure of where to start or why you should do it. This video is for you. Maybe you already understand Linux and you don't need this sort of help, but if you have never used Linux before and this sort of talk of Microsoft recall and all this stuff with Windows 11 is not your cup of tea and you want to move, Linux is really the only option you've got, especially if you're a gamer. If you're someone that plays a lot of games, macOS is probably not going to cut it for you. So this video is basically about everything that you're going to need to know in order to make the switch to Linux. And I'm going to stay away from a lot of the debates about distributions, and I'm going to try and stay away from a lot of really heavy jargon that I don't think is that important for new users. So strap in, grab a coffee, grab a drink, and let's get into it. So the most important thing to know about Linux is that, you know, and a lot of videos will go into the fact that Linux is actually just a kernel and it's not really an operating system. So I'm gonna get away from that for a second. I'm gonna focus on the fact that a Linux distribution is what you're gonna be using. So a Linux distribution is an operating system. Whether that is a Linux distribution that's really stripped down and just a command line distribution, or whether it has a graphical user interface on top, whatever, it is still an operating system. And for you, the user, the only thing you need to understand is what a Linux distribution is. Basically, a Linux distribution is just a package of lots of different software. This package of software determines how the operating system operates, how you download software, how you install software, and what software repositories that distribution would use to get software. The way you install software on Linux is a little bit different to the way you install software on macOS or Windows. And so we'll go into that in a moment. But with this sort of idea of packages of software in mind, the most important thing you need to know is that between Linux distributions, that package of software or the software contained in that package will just change from distribution to distribution. It doesn't necessarily mean that your experience as the end user will change. And this is something that I think a lot of, in the Linux world we call them distro hoppers, get wrong, is they'll come across a problem with their distribution and then they'll go, oh, I'm fed up with this, I'm gonna try a different one. But all they're doing is they're just changing the package that they start with. They're just changing the bundle of software that they're starting off with. They're not actually solving any problems. And so in that spirit, I would sort of encourage any new user to stick with one distribution once you've made the decision at the end of this video which one you want to go with, and then just focus on fixing problems, because that is the only way you're going to learn how to use it. So in that sort of spirit, I guess it's probably important to know now that obviously, if you are a Windows user, you've probably used it your entire life. And there's probably a good chance that you know how to fix a lot of problems with, in Windows. Just know that when you move to Linux, things are going to be different. You're going to run into new problems that you've never seen before. And so there needs to be an element of understanding when you do the move that you are going to have to do a bit of learning. And there is going to be a bit of pain, probably in the first month or so, whilst you learn your way around Linux and whilst you learn how to fix your problems. But this video will give you the basic information you're going to need to know to do all of that. So the first topic is desktop environments. Now, when you search up a Linux distribution, whether you search up Ubuntu or Debian, or there might be a screenshot of the distribution. You might go, oh yeah, I like the look of that, I'll download it. Now this is probably the biggest and easiest mistake to make if you are new to Linux, because you may not know that Linux distributions have what's known as desktop environments. Now the desktop environment is the look and feel of that distribution. That operating system has a certain look and feel and has certain behaviors. And that is determined by its desktop environment. The desktop environment is just a software package, just like everything else in a Linux distribution. But its only job is to determine how windows are drawn, how you interact with them, how do you find software, how do you pull up a menu, how do you do all of these things. With Windows, you only have one desktop environment, which is just the Explore window manager. In Mac OS, you've only got just the one desktop environment. With Linux, there are dozens and dozens of desktop environments. There are so many that you can find anything to fit your niche if you really want to. But in this video, I'm going to stick to the two main ones. The reason being is because they have the most support for new users, and for the vast majority of people, either one will actually do the job. At the end of the day, you're not using Linux because you're a rebel or because you just want to use Linux. You're using Linux because you want to run software. And both of these desktop environments that we'll talk about in this video, and I'll show you some footage of how they work, and so you get an idea of like what the difference is. I'm going to run you through the two major desktop environments so that you can decide which one you want to use. A vast majority of major Linux distributions will allow you to install either one of these during the installation process. So you're not going to be left with like, say you choose one Linux distribution over another, it won't really matter so long as you know what desktop environment you want to use. So the first and probably like the biggest desktop environment in terms of support is called GNOME. Okay, so we're here. I'm running a virtual machine here on my Linux desktop, and I've got Debian 12 installed here. So I'm just going to load it up. This is running the GNOME desktop environment. And I just want to show this to you guys so that you can sort of see what to expect from this desktop environment and how to use it. So there's not really anything installed on here. When you first load into Debian, you're here at the app drawer. If you click on the desktop here, it brings you straight to the desktop. So this is what you'll be seeing normally when you use the application. At the top here, you have like an activities drawer. So you got your calendar here, your settings here, very, very basic stuff. This brings you straight to your settings, for example. So things are going to be a little bit slow just because I'm on a virtual machine and I'm running, and so you can see all your settings here. Now, GNOME does not have a whole heap of settings. It doesn't. The whole point of it is not that. The way GNOME works is it's designed to sort of put you at the center of, well, your applications at the center of everything that you're doing. It tries to focus the activity, I suppose, and that's what makes it such a great desktop environment. If you're someone that's coming from, say, Mac OS or you don't really want to modify your desktop environment too much, this will probably be the desktop environment for you because it's incredibly basic, very, very easy to work with. Very easy to install software, and I'll get into installing software a bit later. To get around, you can just hit the activities. This shows you all your apps, so you can open up your files here. So I can explore my file folders and stuff here, and you can see it pops up here. So makes it very, very easy to see what's active. You can move between different desktops with the Windows up and down key. So if you press the Windows or page up and down, you go to different desktops. So you can open up different applications. And so you just get a good idea of the look and feel of this desktop. Now, obviously, you can install GNOME on any version of Linux, and it will be running exactly as this is running. And that's what makes desktop environments so awesome, because this is what the look and feel of your distro is going to be.
Having said that, there is a little bit of customization. Like obviously in appearance here, we can change the wallpaper. We can if you want, you can download um, like sort of different. Let's see if what we have here. So this just gives us some information about my virtual system here, running Debian, obviously. But yeah, if you install there are some applications that you can install to modify sort of the look and feel. But that's it. That's GNOME in a nutshell. So let's get back to the video.
So, as you can see in that video, I sort of recommend GNOME for people who don't really want to spend a lot of time fucking around with their system. You know, if you don't really want to be tweaking a whole lot of things and you just want to get in there and use your software, maybe you're coming from Mac OS, or maybe you're the kind of person that just doesn't want to fool around with their operating system. GNOME is a really great choice because it's incredibly polished, it's incredibly quick, it's very, very easy to use. And it won't have a ton of settings that you're going to get lost in. You can just focus on using the operating system and getting the work that you need to get done. The second desktop environment I want to talk about is KDE Plasma. Now KDE Plasma, like on the face of it, sort of looks a bit like Windows, but it's not. It is the best desktop environment if you are new to Linux and want to do a lot of customization. In fact, there's so much customization in this desktop environment. You can make it look and feel however you want. You can get really lost in the weeds for the sort of the tweaking. You can also use it if you do want sort of a Windows-like experience straight out of the box and you don't want to customize it. But just know that there is a lot of settings and there's a lot of things you can tweak in the settings. So I'll show you that now.
So here we're at the login screen of KDE Plasma. Now this is literally the same Linux distribution as the video we just saw. This is still Debian 12, still a fresh install. The only thing that is different is the desktop environment. So this really shows you how the only thing that really differentiates, sort of the look and feel of your distro is your desktop environment. Now I've done some modifications to this desktop environment. One of the things that makes KDE Plasma really, really interesting and different is that it allows you to really modify the look and feel of the desktop. Now, from the outset, it looks very similar to Windows. You got your applications drawer here. You tab you have your favorite applications down here. You got your Dolphin. Dolphin's the default file manager on KDE Plasma. You've got a little Firefox here. So just all the same stuff that you would be used to using. But unlike GNOME, there is a lot more customization here, and it doesn't just go to whether you're using a light theme or a dark theme. It goes right down to every sort of element of the desktop. So you can define application styles. You can download more. Like you can literally, there are so many different. If I press play here, I can just change the name of the window. If I reopen this window now, it's now different. So there is so much you can do in Plasma, and you can sort of get lost in the modifications of the OS. And so this is really great for people who want to say they want to really tweak their system. This is going to be the one for them, I think. Obviously, I'm just going in things that are sort of built in. These are like very built in sort of settings. But you can download new icon packs, new cursor packs. You can change the splash screen, the colors. You can even change the panel here. So I can actually edit this panel if I wanted to remove things or change things around. If I wanted this in the, if I wanted this like over here for whatever reason, I can put it over there. If I want, what else? If I want the panel to be, smaller, I can make it smaller. So you can really make this your own. You can even add widgets, which really makes Plasma. I think the widgets really make Plasma super, super awesome. So I can just grab a widget for comic strips, for example. So get new comics. So yeah, you can really go crazy. Let's I don't know, I'll just grab the first one. Let's install this, for example. Never used this before, so I don't really know what to expect. It's okay. That's all done. I get out of that. Let's see what happens. There you go. I don't know why you'd want comics here, but you've got that on your desktop, and that's like it's not a draggable window or anything. That's actually part of the desktop now. So that's just an example of some of the things you can do in KDE Plasma.
So as you can see, yeah, there's just so much you can do with KDE Plasma, and it's kind of insane to me, the levels of customization. My girlfriend's also running Linux, and she runs KDE Plasma, and she loves it because she's a very visual person, and the fact that she's able to like put the panels where she wants, download whatever widget she wants, and just put it wherever on the screen, like suits her just fine. So look, there are dozens of other window managers you can look into. Desktop environments you can look into. There are also window managers that are just, there's no desktop, that you're just running Windows. That's what I do. I run a window manager, but I think for a new, like a beginner, GNOME or KDE Plasma will be fine. And hopefully this gives you enough information to choose which of the two you want to use. So the next major section is about software management. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, what the hell is software management, and why would I want to manage my software? In Windows, you're probably just used to going to a website to download anything, and you download an executable, you open the executable up, you run an installer, and bada bing, bada boom, you've got some software. With Linux, is a little bit different. Vast majority, like 99% of software that you're going to want to run is going to be installed and maintained by a software, like a package manager. So the package manager will determine what repos the software will come from, and like how you get the software. And the package manager in Linux, in the Linux world, is the main differentiator between distributions. It's not actually the look and feel of it. The main thing that makes distributions different is how they get software and where they get software from. And whether you are like compiling it or whether you're just running it straight from a package. So, for example, in the videos that we were just looking at now, we were using Debian 12. Now, Debian 12 is probably sort of the most stable, easiest Linux distribution to get straight into. It's going to cause you the least amount of headaches. It has a couple of downsides, which I'll talk about later. But the way you download software, the package manager on Debian is called apt. And apt has been around for a very long time. There's many pieces of software in the apt repositories. And basically, in the Debian repositories, I should say, but you use apt to download software from the Debian repositories. Now, this is not so important if you're a new user. The actual package manager information is not so important unless you are using the terminal. If you're going to be using like a software, like a GUI front end to download your software, say if you're on KDE Plasma, for example, the Discover app, or if you're on GNOME, the GNOME Software Center, basically you'll just open that up, search for the software, and you'll download it. The only important thing you need to know is that a package is how Linux basically installs the software. So software will come in a package. If you're running Debian, for example, the native package is called a .deb file, and the software manager itself, whether it's DiscoverWorks, GNOME software, will install it for you. You don't need to do anything. You can download the file, and using the terminal you can install it that way, but for beginners it's probably not recommended.
All right, so we're back in Debian 12 running Plasma. I am going to open up the Discover Software Center now. By default, when you install Debian, or when you install any Linux distribution, you will only have access to that distribution's repository of software. So if I wanted to, for example, install VLC, there's a few ways I could do it. I could either install it straight from the terminal, like I can just literally type sudo apt get install VLC. This would be using, this is still just using the package manager. If I search that now, oh shit, there it is. Boom, it's installed, it's done. If I go to that software center, because I've installed it straight from the Debian repository, it knows that I have installed this, and I can even remove it straight from here. So I have just installed the software and I've removed it two different ways. You can also install software directly from Discover, so you can see that here. Now the problem is that if you are running any distribution, you're only going to have access to the default repository. So all the software here is only accessible through the Debian repository. But what do you do if you want to access different software?
Now, you won't be able to install every piece of software this way, straight out of the gate. Like once you install your Linux distribution, you're only going to have access to what's in your distribution's repository. You can add more repositories to it, but that's getting into the weeds a little bit, and is probably for more advanced users that understand Linux a little bit better. What I recommend doing is enabling a repository called FlatHub. Now, FlatHub is a distribution agnostic repository. Basically, the software on it isn't compatible with any one single version of Linux. It is compatible with basically every version of Linux that you are going to want to run. And you can enable it through whatever software front end you're running. So check this video out.
All right, so now we know how to install software. How do we install software that's not part of the Debian repository? So if I want to install Steam, for example, if I search Steam, it's not here. What if I try through the terminal? Maybe I can get it through the terminal. Let's try it. So let's get apt-get install Steam. Now it's given us an error here. So it's saying it's reading the package list, it's reading the dependency tree. Package Steam is not available. So what this means is that it does not exist in the Debian repository. So we have to enable another repository in order to get access to this. Now, if you're really, really good with Linux, you'll know exactly what repository to enable, and you'll know how to do that. But the easiest way to enable access to third-party applications is to enable FlatHub. So we can do that here in the Discover app. If you just choose to install GNOME, GNOME software will have a similar setting. So if we go down to settings here, we can actually see the Debian repositories here that it's pulling from. But if I scroll down here, I can see missing backends. Discover, Flatpak backend, integrates Flatpak applications into Discover. Let's do it. Let's install it. Once we've installed our backend, now we can add FlatHub. And adding FlatHub allows us to search the FlatHub repository. It allows us to add software sources beyond just the Debian sources. So there we are. Now that's all added. So now if I go back to applications, now suddenly there's double the amount of applications here. And if I search Steam, there it is. The Steam Flatpak, and this is Steam. This is the application you're going to need. So if I press install, we're now installing Steam. Now, the important thing to know about this and why this is important is that this, although this is a really great and easy way to install software, and you'll be able to now install lots of different software, it's important to know how you've installed each piece of software. So if I search VLC again, and I open up VLC, this is a Debian package. And the reason I know it's a Debian package is because it doesn't denote anything here. So anything that's a Flatpak will be denoted as a Flatpak here. VLC is not denoted as anything, therefore it is a Debian package. This is from the Debian repo. Now this is important to note if you are trying to troubleshoot. So if you for whatever reason have installed the Flatpak version of any piece of software and you want to do some troubleshooting, you need to know whether you are troubleshooting a Debian application or whether you are troubleshooting a Flatpak, because it changes the way that software is installed, and that will help you troubleshoot any problems that you have.
So as you can see, like there, it's very, very easy to get the software you're going to want to run. You can also install software through the terminal, and as you get familiar with Linux, feel free to do that. It is going to be a little bit easier once you feel safe doing that, but you can very easily use the software centers without much pain. Just remember that if you have any problems with the software that you're running, to remember whether it's going to be a deb package or a native package to your distribution, whatever distribution you choose to use, or whether it's a Flatpak package, because the installation location is a little bit different, and the way you would fix problems or get into the files to fix problems will differ depending on what kind of package it is. And that's the only thing you need to really remember. That's the best part about these software managers. They will tell you what you've installed, so that you should be able to troubleshoot them effectively. So the third and final thing you need to understand is the two different methods of Linux distribution updating. The first one is probably the main one for like a vast majority of software on the planet, which is the long-term release model. Basically, it is a versioned release. So Debian is an example of an operating system a Linux distribution that uses this model. Basically, you get one new version and you download it, you update it, and you stay on that version until the next version is released. This is really great for people who are just doing web browsing, doing office work, doing very basic stuff. If you're not playing, if you don't have the cutting edge latest hardware, this will be fine for you as well. And it's also really great for beginners who maybe don't want to get lost in the weeds for rolling releases, which is the other major way that you get Linux updates. So the other group of distributions are releasing what's called a rolling release. Basically, this means that there's no version of the distribution you're running. You just get lots of little updates. All the software packages on your machine can be updated at any time, and there's updates all the time, literally every day. You don't need to update it every day, but basically the rule of thumb is if you want to install any software, you need to update your entire system, because any software that you want to install will be the latest version of that software, and it will require the latest version of all its dependencies to work. And so if you're not installing anything, you can just leave the packages as is and just run it as is. But every time you want to install something new, it is best to update your entire system. Now, maybe at the end of all this, you're still asking yourself, well, what distribution do I install then? Because you now know what a desktop environment is, and you know what that sort of looks like. You know what a package manager is and how to install software. So the two biggest pieces, I think, of deciding what Linux distribution is sort of there, and then deciding whether or not you want to be running a long-term release or a rolling release operating system is probably your next major one. If you want to play a lot of games and you are using cutting-edge hardware, I recommend a rolling release distribution, whether that's Arch Linux or whether that's OpenSUSE Tumbleweed. Both of those operating systems, distributions will be fantastic for someone who is, tech savvy, who knows their way around their machine, who wants to use the latest hardware and wants the latest software. If you don't really care about latest hardware, latest software, I recommend sticking with a long-term release, such as Debian or such as Fedora. Keep in mind with Fedora, the software itself is pretty cutting edge. Generally speaking, Fedora tends to be a lot newer and makes a lot of decisions that the Debian team don't make in terms of putting the absolute latest that they can put on their distribution. Fedora tends to be like a beta test a lot of the time and uses very, very new stuff. So if you are thinking about a long-term release, really the only option I would recommend is Debian, because that's not going to be, you're not going to be used as a guinea pig to trial new software basically. But if you're happy to do that, give Fedora a whirl. Now the reason I've only mentioned these 4 distributions is because these are like kind of the big 4. These are the main, what are called upstream distributions. And an upstream distribution just means that they are the distribution that every distribution underneath them pulls software from. So say you want to run Ubuntu, well, Ubuntu is based on Debian. So Debian has to release the software first in order for Ubuntu to do anything. So the Ubuntu team will always be behind. Now, there are situations where the Ubuntu team can push things back up to the Debian team and then they can put things on Debian and vice versa. But all this is not important for new users. For new users, I just recommend picking an upstream distribution. And the reason I recommend this is because you're going to have far less issues troubleshooting things than if you pick a downstream distribution. So Linux Mint is a great example of a downstream distribution. Linux Mint is downstream from Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is downstream from Debian, and then Mint is downstream from Ubuntu. Mint is based off Ubuntu, which is based off Debian. You might as well just use Debian. And the reason you might as well just use Debian is because all the things you can do in Linux Mint, you can do in Debian. The difference is you can choose what desktop environment you want to use. Linux Mint comes with a handful of desktop environments, but not a whole lot. The main one is Cinnamon. And if you don't like Cinnamon, you're not going to really enjoy your experience very much, which is why we started with the first thing, the desktop environment. Once you've chosen your desktop environment, then you can choose what kind of release schedule you want, then you can choose your distro. It's very simple. The package manager thing was really just so that you can understand how you install software. The package manager itself doesn't really matter a whole heap. The only thing that changes is the actual commands that you use if you're using the terminal, which if you become more fluent with Linux, you might start getting into the weeds on. But that's not that important for now. So that's it. That's the video. Basically, you now have enough information to get your journey started. If you've got any questions, put them in the comments. If you have any corrections for any mistakes I've made in this video, also feel free to make some comments and I will put some timestamps in the description with some fixes. But otherwise, that's it from me. Thank you for watching and I'll see you guys next time.